Got another great show for y'all. You know
And
who it
I'm
is. I'm
JJ.
Rodney, and that's JJ. What's going on,
I'm doing
man?
all right, man. We're gonna starting a little bit late because of more technical glitches on my part. I apologize to those that were ready at 9, but we're gonna get this start of the show right before it's all said and done. It's first year, so we
Hey,
still
man.
working out some kinks. I'm working out some kinks,
Hey,
but
it's
I'm
all
good. I'm
good.
ready for some football, man.
It's all good, man. You know, it's. I've been hearing some great news out, man. They saying that some of the facilities
Yeah,
opening up, and they letting the players back in. They saying that we might actually get a full season,
yeah.
man. I'm
So
excited, man.
if
So,
they're ready week 1, then that's just perfect. 'Cause,
bro, I can't wait, man. I'm getting that itch, man. I'm just ready to, get a draft on. But that's what we here for. We here for to help y'all. We got our topic of the day is we doing
Yeah,
quarterbacks.
but hold up for a
So
second.
we got
Before we
to.
start quarterbacks, we got to rewind because you remember I told you I'm going back to last week when we were talking sleepers. Well, not last week. I always say the week 2 weeks ago when we were talking about sleepers. I gave y'all the mystery pick
Okay.
for the Seattle running back. I said that because Chris Carson's coming off an injury and we don't know what's happening with Rashad Penny, they already saying he was going to be on the pup list when the season started, that we needed to keep an ear to the ground for who's going to be that running back they signed in Seattle. Now we know his name is Carlos Hyde. What you think about that? That's one of your old boys
So
from 49ers town.
I
Yeah,
like Carlos Hyde. I'm a Carlos Hyde guy. I spoke highly when we did the sleepers where
right.
Carlos Hyde actually had a good year last year. He had 1,000 yards, over 1,000 yards. He had 6 touchdowns
Yeah,
on 245 carries. So I think he still got some
yeah,
gas in the tank. I just
yeah.
think that
It
division
is.
is tough. It's a tough division. I don't. It's that three-headed monster. I still don't think he's
Yeah,
going to
I
start. I
don't
think
either.
Chris Carson's going to start, but I still think he's going to cut into his
Yeah, I
carries
think
big
so.
time though.
I think
So
it's
I
his
think
name
he's a
is
good
big enough
pickup
that I
though,
don't know
just
whether I
for
can
body.
still keep him as my sleeper pick. I was not expecting to name anyone who had 1,000 yards last year. I'm gonna still call it my sleeper because
Yeah.
I think you're gonna probably see Chris Carson. You should see Chris Carson go a lot sooner in most drafts, but they're gonna be probably drafted really close to each other.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you
Yeah. My question is, do you think they're going to do the same
know.
numbers, or you think how you think the carries
I
going to kind
think it
of
all depends
get
on
out there?
how healthy Chris Carson is when he comes back. I'm wondering if that's not only because you know
Okay.
how most teams do running back committees now. You need two good guys, but I'm wondering, did
Yeah.
they get somebody that good because you don't know how he's going to respond with that hip injury. So just in case he goes down again, they got somebody they can rely on. But I'm thinking it's going to be probably something close to a 50-50 split. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I mean, that's my theory on it. I feel like now I
Yeah.
don't. I think Chris Carson is the better
And
running
he's
back,
younger.
but I do think Carlos
Yeah.
Hyde
So
can.
running
Oh yeah,
backs fall off a
definitely,
cliff
definitely.
fast after third. So, yeah. And that's why they
Oh
can't
yeah.
get paid
Once
anymore
they
in the
hit 30, it's a
NFL.
wrap, boy. I tell you.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Oh no, boy, it
So,
go down here real quick, boy. Well, you know that
yeah.
the hitting they take, man, it's brutal, man. So I think it's a good pickup. I think they actually could use them.
Yeah.
I just feel like that division
I
is
think that's
tough,
going to
man.
be
It's a
the
tough,
best
tough
division
division.
in
Good
football
defense in that
by
division.
far.
So
So yeah. T-
see, tier two and tier three quarterbacks, and we have a
right.
category for handcuff quarterbacks. We're gonna start off right now with our tier one quarterbacks. Obviously, everybody know Pat Mahomes is the number one quarterback, so we're not even gonna talk about him. Um, and we have Dak Prescott, we have Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady to
Right.
finish off your tier one. Out of that list for me, I feel like everybody belongs in that list. But I feel like if being that we do this and we have to do our
Okay.
research, I did some research on Lamar Jackson. And to me, if you look at Lamar Jackson's number, I feel like they're inflated just a tad bit. He still belongs in this group, but he had 1,206 yards rushing last year. But I'm going to give y'all a stat that y'all didn't know. From weeks 5 to 16, he did not throw over 250 yards passing. So that kind of, to me, he's a possible guy that could slide to a tier 2.
I'll let you know.
How do you feel about that,
Shout out. We have Ratcliffe watching, who is a first-time viewer and a long-time hater, especially of you, sir. This is a guy in one of our leagues who had his whole team name designed around taking Rodney down. So you could argue how effective it was, but yeah. But we're glad to have you watching, as well as we got Anita Brace here, Alina, and apparently I'm gonna skip past Sydney Lewis because she already looking for Mahomes. You see him on the screen, and Joe Lee. And thank you for Lewis Bracy for showing us, spreading the word about this show. But let me get to these quarterbacks. I'm going to start with Lamar Jackson because I know we got a Lamar Jackson crowd out there. A bunch of you, since you are spreading what I'm pretty sure, going to consider vile evilness. I'm surprised somewhat that Lamar Jackson is overtaking Pat Mahomes in a lot of rankings as the number one quarterback in fantasy right now. And it's obvious why, because last year he was just phenomenal. He led all fantasy football players. But to your point, here's the thing that made Lamar Jackson click. He was the 6th ranked rusher in the NFL, over 1,200 yards as a quarterback. That's only 5 running backs had more yards than he did. So a lot of that Lamar Jackson greatness came from his legs, and I would be really surprised if they let him do that as much this year. I was looking at some Michael Vick seasons because that's the closest thing we could see compared to, and he never followed up his big years with a second big year. You know what I'm saying? So there's always a drop off when you have that much of your stats from running. And unfortunately, the biggest Mike Vick year was when he had 1,000 yards. In the next year, he didn't play for a couple of seasons. We all know why not. But still, the point is, I would be surprised for Lamar Jackson to put up the stats he did. I still think he deserves to be a tier 1 quarterback because he was so phenomenal. Do I think he slips to tier 2? Possibly.
Okay.
But I'm hoping not. One, because I live in Baltimore, and I'm pretty sure I'd have a crowd outside my house. Social distancing and all. I'm pretty sure I'd have a big crowd out ready to burn me in effigy. But I think Lamar Jackson stays up there. But my number 1 pick for quarterback is still going to be Pat Mahomes. You can't. He was phenomenal last year, and he missed 2 games with his knee falling out. Literally popped his knee out. Came back like nothing happened. His average, if you take his average for the games played, he still was one of the top. He was. We have our tiers. You see, we have 7 quarterbacks in our top tier. Mahomes missing 2 games, still finished in the top 7 last season. And I know if it's my choice, he's the first guy I'm going. I might think about Lamar Jackson second, but I probably would go Drew Brees because that's another person in our tier 1 group who, despite missing so many games, he only played 11 games, and his average was amongst the ranks of the tier 1 guys. He still finished as one of the top quarter. And if you take his numbers and combine them with Teddy Bridgewater's numbers for that similar time, he's a top tier dude. Russell Wilson, of course, is always good. And Tom Brady is what do you think about Tom? Tom Brady was not someone who finished as a tier 1 player last year, but he's in our tier 1 this year. Why?
I put him as a tier 1, as we both agreed on this list. I put him as a tier 1 because he has, first of all, he has awesome receivers. Like, his receiving core is awesome. He has 3 good tight ends. So I do put him in that list, but I worry a little bit because of age. And I know that's sad to say, but he's not that young anymore. And
Right.
let's be honest, they did not block for Jameis Winston last year, and they said they have the same exact line that they had last year. They just drafted
Yeah.
somebody in the draft, but he's a rookie, first of all. And second of all, that line was trash last year. They allowed 33 sacks last year. So, but he's one of those guys. If they don't block for him, he's pretty much
very much so. He's old. You can't. One thing we have seen historically when he played with the Patriots, if you want to get if you want to get Tom Brady out of his game, you hit him, and if he gets hit like Jameis did, it's not going to go well.
Yeah. Now, my surprise guy in tier 1 was, and I'm not really high on this guy. You know, I have never been a fan of Dak Prescott. Yeah. But Prescott put up some impressive numbers last year. He put up 4,902 yards and 30 touchdowns. So, over there, like which was give me the name, JJ. What's his receiver name? His receiver.
You talking
I can't think
Gallup?
Gallup. Well, not Gallup, the other one.
Not Gallup, not Cooper.
But he had Cooper. So he had Cooper last year, and Cooper was the only one that actually produced. But he kind of faded away most games. But for him to put up 4,900 yards and 30 touchdowns, which was good for me. And another guy, which he was one of my rivals in my division because as a 49ers fan, I really don't care for him too much. Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was in the MVP. It was in the MVP conversations, or at least
right,
which was pretty impressive, over 4,000 yards. So Ryan, I'm really impressed with. He did throw for almost 4,500 and 26 touchdowns, but he did that late down the stretch. So those last 6 games, he actually put up numbers. He was throwing. They say he had like 7 consecutive 300-yard games. So I'm a big Matt Ryan fan.
Now,
so
you'll be happy to know that despite he's a longtime hater, Ratcliffe is saying he agrees with you on Tom Brady. He also points out that Prescott was 8-8. The good thing about fantasy football is we don't care what your record is. So, hey, as long as if you can throw for nearly 5,000 yards, you can lose every single game, and it won't even. In fact, speaking of which, Jameis Winston from last year, the Bucs lost a lot, but he made some fantasy players happy, and that's honestly for me the whole reason we have Tom Brady in this tier 1 group. I don't think he really deserves to be there. It's kind of the exact opposite with Lamar Jackson. I said he's a tier 1, even though I'm discrediting some of his running because I don't think he's going to do it. I see that Nita thinks he's going to be more of a pocket passer this year, and I think he has to be because you don't want him to get RG3'd where you're running and then you're a backup. So I think Lamar Jackson's going to be in the pocket more, and I think that's going to bring down all his running numbers. But Tom Brady is the exact opposite, which I don't think he really belongs in the tier 1 based off last year. But I'm putting him in tier 1 basically all because of Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston was able to throw for 5,000. I think Tom Brady's going to follow behind. I don't think he hits 5,000 because the thing about Tom Brady is he's not going to take all the risk that Jameis Winston was willing to do. But I still think these 7 are top-notch 7. If you have any of these 7, you should be good. I see Nita's asking about Deshaun Watson, so maybe we should take this time to go to our tier 2 quarterbacks.
So in tier 2, we have Deshaun Watson, Carson Wentz, Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyler Murray, Jared Goff, Phillip Rivers, and Matthew Stafford. Now, out of that group, and I feel like Deshaun Watson with the loss of B-Hop.
That's the only reason he's a tier 2 guy. If he was, if he still had Hopkins, he would still be in a tier 1 group. We just don't know what he's going to be like without Hopkins. So,
I mean, he does.
He has good receivers. He doesn't have to. Yeah, exactly. That's a whole nother level of wide receiver right there. So. I think he takes a small step back. Not a lot. He could still be a tier 1. He might still end up being a tier 1
I feel
player, but I can't give him that right now without seeing. Maybe by the preseason, if we see some good stuff, maybe I upgrade him then. But yeah, I feel more comfortable with him tier 2.
Well, I feel
Might have to
a little bit more. He might do 600 to 700 yards rushing because of the fact that nobody's getting open. But I mean, a name that might be out there that people don't think about that could help receiver is Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is not a bad receiver. When he was the number one on most teams with the Patriots, with the Rams, he did numbers. He did over 1,000 yards. So he's a capable receiver, and they got good receivers on the receiving core that Deshaun Watson can be a tier 1.
The Texans picked up, because Ratcliffe is asking, they picked up Brandon Cooks. And I agree. He's a phenomenal receiver if he's healthy. He's had a history of being healthy, but he also has had a history of concussions. Those concussions. The only thing that's missed, he hasn't missed. I was looking back. He hasn't missed a lot of games, and it's just until these concussions started springing up in the last 2 seasons, and so that's what you got to be a little bit leery of. How many games
I mean, to me, Deshaun Watson could probably take, if anything fails, he probably could take out Tom Brady as a tier 1.
Maybe.
To me, like, if he shows up and does what he does, he probably could take out
Tom Brady. What about Kyler Murray?
As a tier 1.
Has a chance to get up in the tier 1
my
group?
Surprise? He does. I mean, I ain't gonna lie.
Speaking of Hopkins,
you got Larry Fitzgerald, you got D-Hop on one side. I mean, you got other good receivers. 100 yards last year, but he did not have a receiver, not one receiver over 500 yards last year. Now, listen to me again. He had 4,400 yards. Not one receiver had over 500 yards for the whole entire year. That's impressive in itself. So they picked up a receiver in the draft. They picked up a good one from the 49ers. So they picked up some speeders out there that run 4.3. And they still got Ertz at tight end. So for him, and Ertz led the team in receiving with 940.
If they have nothing else, the Eagles have good tight ends. Between Ertz and Goddard. I want to just go back to our comments. Thank you all for yourself. Apparently, per my father, there's no way that Dak Prescott is rated above Carson Wentz. I think that's a little bit of Eagles bias. We just better hope that Carson Wentz is healthy and able to play the whole season again. Let's go with that for starters. We also have Anita Bracey saying kick Golf out. I don't think so. We'll get to him in just a second. Stafford definitely belongs in that list of tier 2 guys. What'd you say? Oh, she's hating on your boy Garoppolo. They called him a pretty boy. And she agreed. She says Wentz isn't going to last the whole season. And because Rivers is his last dance, I think Rivers has something to prove. So I like Rivers in our top 2 tier group as well. So I'm going to let you get on Garoppolo because I know that hurt your feelings personally.
So I'm going to just give her a known fact. Garoppolo literally was first full year start at 308 yards and 27 touchdowns last year. So keep this in mind. Third in play, and mind you, he was 12 yards from. I'm sorry, 22 yards from going for 4,000 yards in his first full season in a Callahan offense, which is one of the most difficult offenses to ever be in. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb, and I'm going to say he's going to do 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns this year. And that's just not my bias. That's just more based on if you look at Matt Ryan from year 1 to year 2 with Kyle Shanahan, he went from a regular good quarterback to an MVP quarterback. So keep the bias out of it, and I'm just giving you pure numbers. So therefore, if he cut down on the interceptions, I feel like he can do
Right.
5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns with ease because we got Kittles, we got Debo, we picked up Brandon in the draft. So we have capable receivers out there who can actually put up numbers. That's
But partially because you're a 49ers fan.
and that,
but he, but he
so,
almost threw for 4,000 yards. So I think he's going to have a really good year. I don't know if I go up to 5,000, but he's going to be very close to it if he doesn't hit it exactly. And apparently Ratcliffe went back to hating on you. Garoppolo is assistant quarterback. It's not going to be his year. I think Garoppolo gets a bad rep because their running game is so good that they didn't really need to rely on him for a lot. With the division they're playing in this year, we'll see how true that remains because they might need a little bit more from. And like you said, that was his first year in that system, so you should see an improvement in it. I want to talk about somebody who might fall out of the tier. Old reliable Rodgers. We saw Rodgers wasn't quite what he was in years past. I'm thinking this should be a bounce back year, but that's a team that seems like they're not really that interested in. They picked up a quarterback already to replace him. They didn't try to do much of anything with wide receivers. They ended up getting another running back when they already had Aaron Jones. So it's like they obviously not that interested in the passing game in Green Bay. And so if there's a guy in this tier 2 grouping that I think might fall back, it'd be Rodgers. Yeah.
and if you think about it, this is the same thing they did with Brett Favre. And Rodgers and Brett Favre was 35 to make the transition. And they didn't bring in any receivers. So our receiver wasn't great. I mean, they went through a few of those. Jimmy Graham at tight end. So that kind of hurts him a little bit. I feel like if anybody, he could slide out of that. Like you said, he can slide out of tier 2. Like him. So, and then when we get to tier 3, I'm pretty sure there's a few quarterbacks in that list that could probably jump into a tier 2. So. Somebody, Jared Goff, for you people that don't like Jared Goff, he is in my division, but Jared Goff almost threw for 4,700 yards last year on a bad team. The only thing he has to cut down is on turnovers. That's his biggest problem. So he had over 20 interceptions last year. And on that, and actually.
Yeah, Goff. I was high on Goff last year. You think about it. And so I felt let down. And I sworn that I was going to demote him. And like, no, he's not that guy. But when I looked back at his stats, even though he disappointed, Goff was impressive. Not as impressive as I wanted him to be, because like I said, I told you, I thought he was going to be like with the quote QB2 overall. He did not live up to those expectations, but he was still good. I think, depending on your league, he was like top 15, somewhere between probably 12 and 15 for quarterbacks last year, which is impressive. He had, like I said, over 4,600 yards. So I'm still a believer in Goff. He has to get those interceptions down. He threw way too many interceptions last year.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's the same argument you can have for Garoppolo. Garoppolo had too many interceptions last year.
Yeah.
I've had a tier 2 quarterback. So I think, but like So if they cut down on the interceptions, I think they'll be all right. They got to keep that number under 10 for me to be like, okay, he's a tier 2. So, I mean,
Yeah, I like that.
honestly, that's a good list, though.
Of course, we came up with it. Why wouldn't we?
And
Tier th-
the we have Kirk Cousins, Ben Roethlisberger, Derek Carr, Josh Allen, Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, Daniel Jones, Ryan Tannehill, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold.
yeah, yeah, and obviously this is our biggest tier because by the time you get to this point, there's not a whole lot of separation amongst these guys. Some might shine a little bit better. The interesting thing we looked at 2019 and compared the stats just like we did before, how we had them ranked in tiers. At the numbers we have now, these guys that are in the guys that finished in what we would consider tier 3 of last year were only like a point or two behind if you talk about average points per game of your players from the tier 2 group from last year. And here's why that's important. A lot of times you're going to see people jump for quarterbacks where they might not necessarily, because people aren't going to be running after Derek Carr. I tell you that right now. He's my guy, but I know he's going to be available very late in a draft. But if you look at what Derek Carr last year, he was almost identical to Aaron Rodgers, who went a lot sooner. So that's a comparison between a tier 1 and a tier guy. You're looking at about 2 or 3 points per game difference between quarterbacks at that stage. And if you play fantasy, you know, those last year it mattered for me because I lost a lot of games last year by like 1 point or 2 points less. But in general, if that's the difference that it's going to make, these tier 3 guys are not bad guys. They're really good pickups. We have a question coming down. Still, there's a lot of Jimmy G hate out here tonight. I just think you should know. People dropping Jimmy G. The coach don't trust him. And I see we have a question from Ratcliffe saying, do you have Cam showing up at all this year? Cam's coming. So, so we're going to talk about him. And we got Anthony Wilkins, he was on our show the first week. He's joined us live. So thanks for watching, Anthony, as well as everyone else up there. But back to our tier 3 list. Who's the star of this list? You're going to ask the question? Go ahead.
Out of this,
all right.
Actually, I have a couple questions. Out of this list, who do you see moving up out of this list?
From these tier 3 guys,
tier 2.
I think if he's healthy, Roethlisberger is an easy tier 2 guy, maybe even tier 1, depending. And again, on health, because you know he didn't play at all pretty much last year, and that's the only reason he's down to tier 3. But when he's healthy, we've never seen him at his best. Well, we've seen him, but the best we've seen him recently has been with Antonio Brown on that team, and he's gone. Juju Smith-Schuster was a very big letdown last year. And he actually was reading the other day that he says a lot of that is due to some stuff off the field, but also, you know, a lot of learning he did because, you know, being the guy was a different experience for him. So I'm going to say Roethlisberger can go up there. Another guy potentially who could surprise, I wouldn't even call it a surprise. Josh Allen was actually, he had the stats to finish in the tier 1 category from I see the comments from Bracy. Don't worry, Tony. I'm about to say about Josh Allen right now. Josh Allen is a guy who actually finished in Tier 1 last year based off the PPR and standard league settings. So why do we have him going from Tier 1 down to Tier 3? Remember Lamar Jackson? And I said there's no way that he's going to put up those 1,200 yards rushing. There's no way he's going to put in all the touchdowns you saw, both passing and rush. He had Lamar Jackson had 7 rushing touchdowns last year. Guess how many rushing touchdowns Josh Allen had last year? 9. He actually. And here's the crazy part about Josh Allen, those 9 rushing touchdowns. The closest any running back on the Bills did last year was 2 touchdowns. That's their biggest number of touchdowns from running backs was 2. Their biggest number of touchdowns from receivers last year in the Bills was 6. So he had 3 more rushing touchdowns than his nearest competitor on the squad. And all that tells me is that's not happening 2 years in a row. So Josh Allen, much like I think about Lamar Jackson, he'll be more in the pocket and you'll see those numbers go up. But I don't think it goes up enough to compensate for what you saw either of those guys do with their legs last year. So, but if I'm wrong, then Josh Allen might be got to step up to at least tier 2.
I don't believe in Josh Allen. So, no, don't believe in him. He barely threw for 3,000 yards, that's normal for most quarterbacks. He only had 20 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. So if you go touchdown to interception ratio, that's really not that good. That's more like half and half. So every he throws an interception. So touchdowns. I don't see that happening. The receiver from Minnesota, that may help him a little bit, but I don't see.
Yeah.
Yes, but I don't see that's doing much for him to put him in a tier 2 category, because I see a lot of mock drafts.
He's going off board.
As a tier 1, which
he's been one of the top ranked quarterbacks based off what he did last year. It's just a matter of whether you believe he does the same. I just can't in my mind grasp that happening. I'm willing to be wrong on that one.
No, I can't either. I'm willing to be wrong too, but I just don't trust. There's a lot of other quarterbacks that I would take before him if I was in a 2-team quarterback position. It was over him. Drew Lock over him. I think Drew Lock is going to be big this year. He's a guy that Denver is really putting all the eggs in one basket in, and he got the receiving core out there that he can really do numbers.
Yeah.
So Kirk Cousins is another one. If they allow Kirk Cousins to be Kirk Cousins and don't run the ball like they did the first 3 games last year, Kirk Cousins can be a really good quarterback. Especially he could move up to a tier 2 in my eyes, because he can throw for 4,000 yards. He did it in Washington for years. So I don't
know
why that's in a tier 3 is Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is not. Baker Mayfield threw 22 touchdowns and 21 interceptions. I mean, he was horrible last year. And for him, they got him 16th, ranked 16th in most mock drafts going this year. I say that is insane. Like, they thinking about the offense he has, but that's the same offense he's gonna have this year. So it's not.
He has Austin Hooper now, but I don't think that really improves their team much. Yeah. Yeah.
So
well, maybe I'm not willing to say that yet.
I mean, they're
okay.
They're not. One is not.
Right. It's going to be interesting. I agree. It's going to be interesting how he does. Because hey, I agree with you. Baker Mayfield is no Matt Ryan. So I see someone's asking in the comments for a second. Our tier 3 quarterbacks worth talking about? Definitely. Because you have to have a backup. And depending on how many people are in your league, the tier 1 and tier 2 guys, that's only 15 players from our rankings. So, those guys are going to probably be gone by the time a lot of people are trying to get their backup quarterback. So you need to know who these next group. And if you play in 2 quarterback leagues that we talked about last week, you're definitely going to need some of these tier 3 guys. Because like we told you last week, if you're in the 2 quarterback league, you really need 4, bare minimum 3 quarterbacks. So that's why we talk about these players. Going back to an old comment, numbers don't lie, Tony. Yes, numbers lie all the time. so don't believe it because you see stats will tell you that Ryan Tannehill's a really good quarterback. I don't think he is.
Really,
you know what I'm saying? So I know he's in our tier 3 group, and in all respect, dude, Tannehill had a really good year last year. But there's just no doubt that Derrick Henry is what makes that squad go. And, I think some karma comes back at Tannehill because he stole Derrick
Well,
Henry's money. So, yeah.
Tannehill, I'm gonna just give y'all a glaring stat. Tannehill threw for 99 yards in the playoffs last year. Derrick Henry ran for 245. So I'm gonna just leave that with you. No quarterback throws for 99 yards.
I'm about to say your boy Jimmy G.
Jimmy G. He let through for less. Yeah, except for Jimmy G. But when you have a running back that runs for 245 yards and they stack the box with 8 people and still run for 245 yards, that means your quarterback is not that successful. So I don't know. Now I do have one surprise that I do like. Your boy Derek Carr. Derek Carr actually did well last year. I looked at the numbers and I was pretty shocked.
I told y'all that he looked like Aaron Rodgers, which is usually more of a compliment than it was. But I think Derek Carr has a potential. And, hey, they put some wide receivers out there in Las Vegas. I have to get used to saying that. Mm-hmm. So I think Derek Carr could make – we've seen one really good Derek Carr year. It was about 4 years ago. I think he can step it up this year. And he could be a surprise, as well as a few other young guys in that in this grouping that we have. But you tell me why Derek Carr is the greatest quarterback in this tier 3 group. I'm pretty sure you said. I'm not saying he's the greatest,
but you're wilding on that one. But he had good numbers though. Honestly, he had over 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, and only 8 interceptions. And I don't think Mariota is like.
Right.
He had some good before last year. He had a really good year before that, and then he got better weapons this year with Josh Jacobs and the receiver y'all got in the draft. I think that's going to be good because Josh Jacobs is a dual threat. He can catch out the backfield, third down back. So I like him. So
Tony, hold on for a second. Tony, you about to get kicked off our show. You're not going to be saying bad things about Derek Carr. So you quiet that down. You get your boy Haskins to play better. We'll talk about him later. But continue.
Yeah.
Okay.
People can understand how it works in certain drafts. So if you 2 quarterback system and you already got your number 1 and you're at the number 1 spot at I think it's number 20, and you have Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield.
I'm not going with Baker Mayfield because, much like yourself, I don't believe in him. I'm going to go with probably Josh Allen, honestly, just because of what he did last year. I'm a big Drew Lock fan, but I don't think I like him enough to pick him over Josh Allen. Drew Lock, they put in they did a good job in the draft for putting some talent around him, and I think I am probably a bigger Cortland Sutton fan than you are, but I think Drew Lock with a full year is going to be a lot better, but not as good as Josh Allen.
Okay.
I don't.
How do you feel about Teddy Bridgewater?
I wanted to care for him because the Saints did so well with him at the helm. But then when I look back at his stats, and I was like, fantasy-wise, he didn't really do – he kept the Saints going, but he didn't produce good fantasy numbers. If you look at his average per game played, he had, in the standard league, about 10 points per game, which is abysmal. And quite frankly, I don't think – if he couldn't produce really good stats fantasy-wise with the Saints, he's going to be highly disappointed over there with the Panthers because it's a much except for C-Mac, but that's not really going to help him with the passing game as much. So, what do you think? I think he'll be all right, but not great.
I see him doing well. He has a couple of receivers that nobody don't know about like that. But Robbie Anderson Robbie Anderson runs one route, which is a straight go.
Right.
He don't know how to really run routes across the middle. So, and the problem with Bridgewater is
Right.
the only problem is he doesn't throw the ball down the field. So, but with CMC out there, CMC is going to be monster this year
Right.
because CMC might get 100 receptions this year off the fact that he's gonna dink and dunk and throw it out of the backfield. So CMC is going to help him a lot, for real. But I
I
think
like
Robbie
DJ Moore
Anderson
there.
may help him too. But I like Teddy
Well,
Bridgewater.
I know we discussed DJ Moore earlier, and you're not as much of a fan, but I think he's a better wide receiver than you give him credit for, and I think he's a
Not
better
really.
wide receiver than Robbie Anderson. Um,
Well,
yeah,
I think Robbie Anderson to take the top off anyway. He's just going to take the top off, and DJ
right.
Moore's going to get more of that across the middle. But the thing is, they lost
Yeah,
they lost their tight end this year. He ended up going to Seattle, so that's going to hurt a little bit too because he don't like Bridgewater don't got a safety blanket,
right.
and that most quarterbacks that dink and dunk their safety blanket is their tight end. So at the end of the day, I think at the end of the day, I think he's a good quarterback. If I had to go in a draft, he's
Yeah,
probably my third quarterback just because of the fact that he's not going to get benched. And again, people think about it now. When you talk about tier 3 quarterbacks, you got to get ones that's obviously going to start, that's going to stay on the field, and can come in if you need them to especially on bye weeks. And if you're one of your tier 1 quarterbacks or tier 2 get hurt, they can step in and actually start for you. But
right.
those guys are
These
more of a
aren't guys
substitute for
except
bye
for
weeks and
maybe
everything. So
if you're feeling Froggy, Roethlisberger, Cousins, Josh Allen, you might do
Roethlisberger
it
and
to do
Cousins.
well, but these are mostly going to be backups. I
Yeah.
asked you a question about some of the young guys on this list. Daniel Jones. We already talked a little bit about Drew Lock, Sam Darnold, Minshew, and Burrow. Of that grouping of young guys, who do you think you'll see the most from this year?
I
Yeah.
like Drew. I like Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, I think, with his full roster back, because they
Right.
say he played about 7 games last year without his top 2 receivers and his running back. So I think, and then like he murdered the division in the NFC East. He threw for 400 yards against the Redskins. Redskins not once but twice, Tony. Um, so just wanted to put that out there. Um, I think he's going to be good. I'm not
Right.
a big believer in Joe Barrow. I think Joe Barrow is going to get murdered. He's in too much of a tough division. It's
For a
not called
reason.
the black and
Right.
blue for it's called the black and blue for a reason. Um, so I think they may go 4-12, and he may not be that great. I mean, you got Baltimore, you got Cleveland, you got Pittsburgh. I mean, those defenses is nothing to sleep on. So I think he's going to be tough. Now Minshew, he's a 6th rounder. Um, he's a fun guy. So he's good with the fans. As far as
Right.
winning, he got benched last year. So, and the thing is, they're not going to bring anybody to bench him because they believe in him. So they're not going to do that. They traded away the
Right.
quarterback they just spent $80 million on to,
Right.
no. I
The
think
only
he's going to
competition he
start
has there
definitely,
is Glennon,
but
and Glennon's a career backup, so I think it's his to lose. But I'm with you. I think
yeah. So
Daniel
I don't
Jones is
really
probably
think,
the best of
yeah,
that group. Yeah.
out of that group, yeah. Um, so
Uh,
we got another section that we call.
well, yeah, it's the handcuff group. Just for those that aren't familiar with fantasy, let's take a moment to explain exactly what that means. When you're talking about handcuffs, guys are locked together. You can't have one without the other. So basically, these are the guys because their starting position is so uh, let's say fragile. Uh, perfect example last year was a guy who's on the list this year, Fitzpatrick with Josh Rosen last year. They went back and forth. So if you only had one of them, you never had a reliable guy. So that's what these handcuff groups are.
Well, those guys count. So even though they're 2 separate quarterbacks, they count as one quarterback. If you draft one, you have to draft the other one, and I mean you have to draft them back to back because if you draft Fitzpatrick, and you don't get Tua, you pretty much don't have a third quarterback. Because I think I read something today. They saying that they may hand the ball over
Yeah.
to Tua pretty early. So I just feel like you pair these guys up. We have four guys you got to pair up. So we got Haskins and Kyle Allen, which Haskins, they saying the
Yeah.
job is his, but if you think about it, they have the coach and the player.
Right. That's a
I
threat.
think Haskins on a short leash. Yeah, it's definitely a threat. He's on a short leash. And Kyle Allen already knows the offense. So if Haskins come in and he
Right.
don't produce, I
Now
think
I
he's
will
definitely
say
going to get
that
benched
if
by
Haskins
week
looked really
5.
bad
So
when he first got the starting gig from Case Keenum, but towards the end of the season, you started to see he has some talent. They have a very talented young wide receiver, McLaurin. So I think he has a chance for
mhm,
success. But I'm with you. I'm not going to gamble on only
yeah.
drafting him. I'm gonna have Kyle Allen in my back pocket if I draft Haskins at all. Right.
Oh,
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky stays
and
on thin ice, right?
yes. And the reason I think Nick Foles is going to
Yeah.
start is because of the fact they pay him $1. I just feel like that's crazy. And they did not re-up on. They did not. They did not tag Mitch
Yeah,
Trubisky
they declined. Right. They
for
didn't
next
take
year.
his option. Right.
They declined it. So that's another kind of. They want. So that's just me. So
Yeah.
how you feel about that?
I was a big Trubisky guy a few years back, and I'm kind of disappointed with how poorly he's played. Uh, he's on thin ice, and I would not be surprised if he loses that job, or even if he doesn't have it from week one. I'm going to be rooting for him, but yeah, I think Foles is definitely a threat to that job. I see Tony asked the question about Nick Foles. Not sure I got the question. Just want to make sure I'm following. Foles now in Chicago. From the question, the way the question is worded, it seems like
Yes.
maybe you didn't know. So Foles isn't in Jacksonville with Minshew anymore. So the only threat to Minshew is going to be Glennon,
No, he's
which is not a threat at all.
okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, just to clarify, in
Um.
case that wasn't clear.
Yeah. And then we already talked about Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a career backup.
Yeah,
He's more of a guy that you bring in to
yeah,
bring in the next quarterback. So and
he's
they
a bridge
saying
guy.
Tua, they
That's all he is.
he's
Yeah,
a bridge guy basically. Um,
yeah,
and Tua
that's what he says. So we'll see. Yeah,
they saying they willing to give him the ball early. So they saying if he healthy, he come and count me, he beat out Fitzpatrick. Hey, I mean they gonna give him the ball. Now I do think Fitzpatrick starts
yeah.
the year off week 1, week 2 as a starting quarterback.
His time is
But again,
limited.
you
Right.
have to draft Tua. If you don't draft Tua, yeah, it's limited. So you just pretty much you hanging yourself by
Similarly,
not drafting Tua.
Tyrod Taylor.
Um,
They say they're gonna go with him, but
yes,
we haven't seen Tyrod Taylor hold. We talked about this I think last week or the week before that. We talked about Tyrod Taylor has not been able to hold a job, and one of your boys talked about Justin Herbert, and I think he can easily
yes,
get that. Well, I won't say easily because Tyrod Taylor I think does have to lose it, but Tyrod better be watching his back. And you're welcome, Tony. I see your clarification must have been right. So, yeah, I think all these guys. One person that we haven't seen anything from is Stidham in New England. But, yeah, we've been reading this week
Yeah.
that a lot of people think Hoyer might actually be the starter. Do you think he starts week 1, or do you think they go with the young guy?
I think
Yeah,
Jared may get. I think he's going to start. I think they're hounding
right.
Jared. But he's on a short leash.
Yeah,
I don't think they're
obviously,
trying to
right.
win many games though. But I think Jared. I think Jared is going to start, but I also
Right.
think Hoyer because he's been in that system like 3 years now, so he know the system, and they bring him back for a reason. And I think they're giving him, I think, $6 million guaranteed this year,
Right.
and they not paying Jared. Now he's still on a rookie deal, so you got to think about like people think about the money factor in this thing too, because they're not gonna pay somebody a bunch of money just to sit on the bench. They're there for a reason. So Hoyer may take the job from him, but I think
Yeah.
they're gonna flip flop most of the year. Just like I think Haskins and Cal Allen's gonna flip flop, Trubisky, Nick Foles is gonna flip flop.
Yeah,
I just think it's gonna
do you
be
think
one play
anybody from this
bad for
group
two
has a
weeks,
chance
then they go
to
on to the next
become
one.
a reliable player for the year? It's probably not the entire year, but if they get the reins, is anybody going to grab it and just be a guy you can count on? Let's say from week 5 all the way to the end of the season.
I'm gonna say Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, just on the fact that he has the receiving core, he has the running backs, he has the defense that can kind of cover up his mistakes that he may make. And we talked about him before, but the thing is, I think with his height, his he throws the long ball, and I think Tyrod is
Right.
gonna hurt the receivers by throwing it down. He doesn't throw it down the field, so he's gonna hurt those receivers. Now Eckler
Right.
might be the only one that benefits from Tyrod. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, those guys are not gonna benefit because he don't throw it down the field. But now, as far as Justin Herbert, he's 6'7". He can see over the line, and he throws the ball down the field. He can definitely throw. I think he's one of them. Tua is another one who could take the reins and run with it. I still think that Nick
Yeah, I
Foles
don't want any
and
part of
Trubisky
it.
is really it's too tricky, man. Like, yeah, I don't want no part of that. It's too tricky.
Right.
You just don't know
Because
which one gonna
Trubisky
be
hasn't
there.
been good,
You
but
don't
it's
know
not
which
like
one
Nick
is
Foles
the
has
star
gone
one to be.
anywhere other than Philadelphia and been reliable. He's lost jobs everywhere. So yeah, I see Tony. He thinks
So
Tua could
that's
be that guy.
yeah.
Possibly. And Pro Pasta P, I see is watching now. So good to have you watching the show. Um,
Good to have you on.
I'm trying to think if I'm gonna gamble on anybody in this list, and I don't really want to. I'm gonna cross my fingers
Uh huh.
and hope that Haskins can pull it off. But just so you know, Tony, there's no way in the world I'm drafting him. So it's not that kind of faith. It's kind of I hope he does well because I think he was just in a bad spot where the owner's the only person that really likes him, and so even from the last coach to this one, so I'm just hoping he does well against the odds. But I have no faith in him. Uh, so I
I
don't know.
mean, but that's
Yeah,
another factor in it too. The
yeah,
owner loves Dwayne Haskins. Like he loves him to the point where you going like they made him like he
yeah.
made the coach start him last year after a certain point. So
Right.
he has the owner in his back pocket as
We're
far
gonna
as
play him.
look, we drafted this guy high and we want to play him. So I mean, I feel like at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Well,
It's just these guys are too
well,
shaky, man.
even shakier.
Like, it's
Our
shaky.
last
So I don't know.
group of tiers. This is tier. I don't know. That's will any of these guys be? I am
Yeah.
just stunned that Cam Newton is just sitting there unemployed at this point. There's so many. Like
Oh, I do not understand that,
I don't
man.
know who he replaces.
Like,
I'm looking at the list of guys, but I'm like Cam Newton is better than a lot of these guys out here. Well, I think Cam Newton is better than anyone in that previous the tier we just did with the handcuffs. So, of any of those 8 guys, I'd rather have Cam Newton.
I mean,
I don't know.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised that he did not go to Washington. I just don't understand the whole logic behind you pick up the backup, but don't pick up Cam, and you're running the same system. I feel like Washington would have been great for him because he
Right.
would have been back with his coach. He would have been in that system. It wouldn't have been a learning curve. I just don't understand why he's not in Washington. That's my biggest thing. And he's going to get a backup job somewhere where he's going to be better than the actual starting quarterback, which is sad to me. I just feel like it's wrong. He need to be starting somewhere. So that's just my take on it. I think it's just crazy, man. I don't know, man. So I don't know. I don't. And another one's Andy Dalton. I feel like Andy Dalton, depending on his Dak situation, him wanting $40 million a year, which is absurd to me. That's
he didn't go
crazy.
so well with that.
Yeah, I mean, he
35
turned down
million,
a deal
like,
for like
that's not enough money.
$35 million a year.
Okay.
That's not enough money. Like I said, come on, man. Yo, what is wrong with him? So I think Andy Dalton actually.
I'm looking at this questionable list, and unless
if Dak
Drew
don't show
Brees,
up,
aside from Drew Brees possibly getting hurt, I think Andy Dalton is probably the most likely guy who could make an impact, and that's only if it comes down to a contract dispute. But otherwise, yeah, I want to say Cam Newton should play somewhere, but it hasn't happened yet, and it's not really a lot of time or places for him to go. I see Nita saw maybe it's something more than his injury. I think it has to be, right? More than maybe a personality thing with some people.
He wants to start, and that's the problem. He doesn't. He's been coming out lately saying that he's okay with taking a backup role, but I think in his heart he wants to start.
Right.
Jobs. That's gone now. There's no really job there where he can take us up that handicap tier that we've talked about. And he can take those jobs in the blink of an eye if he just actually goes there. But I think if he signs a 1-year deal with somebody, a prove it deal, which he shouldn't have to prove nothing personally. But I feel like if he goes to Washington, Miami, LA, those teams, in LA he will be perfect. They can win the division.
Which LA are you talking about?
The Chargers.
Because there's 2 LA teams. So make sure you won't talk about the Rams.
No, the Chargers.
Okay,
but I heard him going. I heard him going to the Rams too. I heard that too. I heard him going to the Rams being a backup to Jared Goff. I heard that too. But I feel like the Chargers would be a perfect landing spot.
The part with the Chargers is, Justin Herbert's going to be the guy, and so why bring in Cam for no reason when you already have Tyrod Taylor there for no reason? That's.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like he could have went to Dallas.
That one.
Before they signed Andy Dalton.
That they went with Dalton ahead of Cam. And another thing, just looking at it, I think we both said that Dalton's probably the most likely one of these stars. Remember when Cam Newton was that guy coming out, and Winston and Mariota, when they were getting that, those 3 were all supposed to be stud guys right now, and everyone there is a backup or or just not in the league right now, and Andy Dalton's just sitting there like he could do something. Tony asked, do y'all think that it's crazy with Dak turning down that can of money? Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, but I get it, because quarterbacks go for so much right now that every time a quarterback signs a deal, they're the highest paid player ever. But get real, Dak Prescott is not worth $40 million. And I know one person, and it's my wife's favorite quarterback over here. Pat Mahomes is loving it, because if Dak Prescott gets anywhere near $40 million, I think the Chiefs are going to just have to name the stadium after him, give him the keys to the arena, and like, look, no, we're the Kansas City Mahomes right now, because it's just done. It's just, it's done.
The weird part about it is they offered him $33 million first. He turned that down. Then they offered him $35 million. He turned that down. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
He must know something that no one else knows.
Like, it got to be somebody in his ear.
I'm not saying it, but we'll see. I think they put in Dalton just
I'm not saying it.
to pressure him to sign in some paper because yeah,
Well,
yeah,
they gave Dalton a lot of money to be a backup too. I mean, they
yeah.
they gave him a lot of
And that's
guaranteed
just
money to be
pressure.
a
All
backup,
that is saying, Dak,
and
you better
I
sign
think,
here because we don't need you.
well, like I told you the other day, I say as soon as they would have signed
Yeah,
Dalton, I would have signed my paperwork. I'm just saying I wouldn't have wasted no time.
yeah.
And so, because they got so many weapons out there, man. It's a shame, man. Man, you telling me you don't want
Yeah.
to go somewhere else and get it?
Find out
That's
that
what's gonna
you
happen.
really needed Zeke for that old thing to go. So
Yes. Well,
yeah.
we all know
So
he needed Zeke anyway. When Zeke
uh, yeah.
games, he did no. I don't believe in that. He's crazy. No. Now, Jameis
Right.
Winston,
That's the
Breeze
only
got to
way
get
he's
hurt.
playing. Now,
And
we don't
you
talk a
put
lot
Jameis
about
Winston,
dynasty
yeah,
football,
that's
but if you're in a dynasty leagues, are guys that basically you have players that you pick up and you. It's almost like a real franchise. You only have to draft like rookies each year, based and a few other players, but you hold on to players. If you are in a dynasty league where you can get a hold of Jameis Winston because someone wants to trade him or someone to let him go, I love Jameis Winston in the future whenever Drew Brees is retired because Jameis Winston in that offense with Sean Payton, it's just going to be scary future. So, yeah.
yeah.
They're setting themselves up.
And I think
Right.
they bring
Sorry,
it
Taysom Hill,
in the
but that ain't
future
going to be your job,
on a.
basically. Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, man. He's a gadget guy, man. Like
Uh,
he's a tight. Does a bunch of stuff. He helps them out. Excuse me. He just re-signed a 2-year deal,
yeah.
and I think in the next 2 years he's going to be gone anyway. Probably somebody can pick him
Yeah.
up. I think that's Winston's job for the future. What
And
they're
they're
gonna
going
do
to,
is they're
yeah,
gonna get
just
him in
work
that
with him.
classroom, and
I
they're
think
gonna
it's going to be
teach him that
phenomenal.
playbook.
Couple of last comments. We have some
I,
people, or that's my mom, by y'all. By the way, y'all, Orlando Lewis. She thinks Cam's issue is his personality, definitely not his talent. Tony's saying that yeah, Dallas can with Andy. They can't win with it. And you're a Redskin fan. Shame on you, Tony. I just realized that. Shame on you. Dallas can't win, period. They're going to miss the playoffs again, and Jerry Jones is going to be sad. And then Nita's talking about Troy Aikman even saying there's something wrong with the Cry Girls not giving Dak his due. And I'm with you, Pastor B. Who wants Dallas to win? That a pox upon the Cowboys and anyone who likes them. So. Oh, and Anita also says that Cam's personality is better than Mayfield's, and I agree. I don't think either one of us likes. I like Cam. I
I
like
agree with you
Baker
100%.
Mayfield's commercials. There you go. That's the best thing I can say about him. So
Well, I read some before we came on, and they said that he
yeah,
actually turned down
he
commercials this
he needs to
year
turn
to
down
focus on
football
football.
because he's
So it
not
took him
good at
3
it.
years to
But
focus on football. That
yeah,
okay? Yes. So I mean,
yeah. So
he's more good at commercials than he is at actual football. So I talked to you earlier in the day, and I sent you something
oh yeah.
about they asked could he
Who's the
lose his
backup in
job
Cleveland?
this year.
Case Keenum, and we have to give credit because that's where we came from. I'm gonna call it Colin Cowherd's talking about Case. I mean Baker Mayfield is Case Keenum with a stronger arm, and then had the audacity to follow that up by saying, and he's gonna be set up to be a playoff quarterback. No, Baker Mayfield's not even gonna look at the playoffs. Get out of here. They're the third best team in that division as long as Roethlisberger is healthy. That's just shame. And why Radcliffe's asking why does the media hate
Yeah,
Dak Prescott? I can't call it. Maybe they don't like his soup commercials.
I can't call it either.
But I've got nothing. So
I mean, honestly, I feel like to me, he hasn't won anything. I mean,
Yeah.
for him to be in that NFC East, and they had a chance to go to the playoffs last year by just winning the game, by beating the Eagles, and he didn't do it. They went 8-8, and he felt like 8-8 is great for him to deserve $40 million. I think that's just crazy.
One
So
playoff
you
win
gotta
in his career.
do
Get out of here. Get out of
one,
here.
one. I mean, he's. I want to say he's not a better version of Tony Romo, but he's
Right.
starting to get on that scale that's Tony Romo ish. Because Tony Romo didn't win but like 1 or 2 playoff games, and they both played for Dallas,
Yeah.
and it's history from there. But I don't know. Now,
Oh
in
yeah,
fantasy,
I draft that.
if that's what he did last year,
I don't have to pay $41 million for him. So I'll draft him in a heartbeat. So
you ain't lying. So I mean, I'm definitely. I'll take Dak and
yeah,
Dak right
and he
now
should.
is going
Honestly,
top
based
3
on what he did last, he
which
should
is
be.
I mean, it's not bad based off numbers.
So yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Now I would take him top 3. Now
yeah.
Pat Mahomes definitely won.
We
but,
got somebody cheering
that's
over
another
here
story.
for Pat Mahomes.
So.
I need to ask where the people who picked Cleveland to win the Super Bowl.
Whatever.
Hopefully, they got their head in the sand somewhere out of embarrassment because that's just stupid. It's still Cleveland, and that's what I don't understand. People, no, Cleveland's problem is more than just players; it's the whole franchise is out of whack, and they just need to stop.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
I mean, you got OBJ who don't want to be there.
That team's going to be
he wants to be out
this year.
He can't play with,
if they make the playoffs, it'll be
Yeah.
just barely, and they'll be gone that first game of the wild card. But I don't think they're even going to be there. It's just silly.
I mean, they got a better chance of making it.
Oh yeah,
So-
you're right. I forgot about. I gotta adjust to the new rules. Okay, so they might make the playoffs,
So
but
instead
they're
of
not going to
instead of
be
doing
good. Get out of here.
yeah, instead of doing 12, you're doing
But
14.
that doesn't even count.
I mean, one last question before we get off. How do you feel about Sam Donner? Like
We kind of did skip over him a little bit, didn't we? He was in our tier 3 group. I thought Sam Darnold was awesome last year until we started prepping for this quarterback show, and I looked at his stats, and I'm like, Sam Darnold was awful last year, and they have Rashad Perriman now. Okay, I see a Chiefs flag waving. I can't even concentrate right now looking at this. So, yeah, the Jets are not going to be good. Sam Darnold is he can be my backup quarterback. I can fill him in for a bye week, and that's about the best I can say about him. Yeah. I thought Sam Darnold was actually good. I don't know what I was smoking or what was happening in my brain, but I looked at Sam Darnold's stats, and I was like, he barely threw for 3,000 yards. That's not going to cut it. That's just not going to. Not in today's NFL. No. He missed 3 games.
He missed a few games last year with mono or something?
He had mono. So he missed 3 games. But still,
mono, yeah.
That's terrible. Yeah. If you look at his average stats per game, he was very, not even middle of the road, very bottom of the pack. So he barely made. I talked earlier in the show that we did the rankings from 2019, and Sam Darnold just barely made the group as a tier 3 player from last year, like barely beating out Kyle Allen. If you can only barely beat out Kyle Allen, I'm not gonna put much into you. So whatever. That's our list. So yeah,
but that's our quarterback takes. Definitely, we got a little surprise after the show. We're gonna definitely put it out for you. That way, this can be something you can go back to when you do have your own draft, and spread the word on our list. Try to spread it, share it, and that way other people can use it and help them out. Because I'm definitely gonna use our list when it's time to draft. So. And I have 5 of them.
And we're going to be doing this over the next few weeks. Not next week, but the week after that, we're going to be talking running backs. So if you stay with us during the off season, by the time draft time comes around, you're gonna have a nice little cheat sheet you can put together. And at the end of the season, we're gonna compile all these stats together in the cheat sheet. So people that play in the leagues with us, you'll have an insight into how we think. So Ratcliffe, you might do better in taking Rodney down this year. So I'll be rooting for you to do it. So.
Ratcliffe,
no, keep your name exactly the way it is.
Stop using my you can't
until it make it true.
Stop, man. You can't keep using me, man, like this, man. You're not going to win, man. Right. Give it up, man. I'm just too good.
One more thing before we go, because it's about shutdown time. I just want to say that tomorrow is my 9th anniversary, so I want to give a shout-out to the lady in my life, Sydney, who's over here on the side helping me out, keep making sure I'm watching comments and questions on the screen. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have a nice little anniversary in the house, because we ain't going anywhere. So but yeah.
Congratulations, brother. And tell her I'm making her a R&J shirt. Special Chiefs color for her. So I'm working on it, and as soon as I can get it made up and get some shirts in, I'm definitely gonna make you a Chiefs R&J shirt, red and yellow for you. So, just because it's all love, and she helps us out, and like me and JJ say, there's a lot of behind the scenes work, and our wives help us out a lot. And I'm going to throw my wife out there right now, even though she's sleeping. She's going to kill me when she sees this, but it what it is. So we have a couple now. We're making them up. But Sydney gets a special one, so we will definitely make one for her.
All right.
So just let us know what y'all think. We might throw some of the shirts on the website and just see what y'all think. Definitely get with us though. Be patient with us though.
Trying to do what we do.
We're trying to get some ink and paper.
But thanks for joining us. 2 weeks from now, we're talking running backs. So if you got people that you want us to talk about for certain, let us know in the comments. Send us an email. Like us, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and I look forward to us doing this conversation again. All right. Peace out.
I'll see you later.